أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ويطيع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. In my beginning, I'd like to thank Allah for the blessing that He has bestowed upon me and you. The greatest thing that you can have in this life is Islam. I've often said that I would rather be a poor man living on the street with not a dime in my pocket and nowhere to live and be Muslim than be wealthy and having the largest house in Raleigh and all the money, as much money as a prince in Dubai. Because Islam is more important. Success lies in Islam, nothing else. Islam is the greatest thing you can find in this life. In my beginning, I'd like to ask us a question. Why are we here? In America, you have, and right here among us, you have Muslims from the four corners of the world. American Muslim, Muslims from every place in the Arabic-speaking country. Morocco, Algeria, from Malaysia, from Russia, from Uzbekistan, from South Africa, from Nigeria, everywhere in the Muslim world. Why are we all here together? I believe that it's the will of Allah and that He has a job for us here in America. We've been talking about racism and social injustice for quite a while now. I'm not going to rehash all these issues. I'm not going to talk about the man that got killed. I'm not going to talk about anybody that got killed, and I'm not going to talk about racism and it's this and that and the cause of it. What I want to talk about is the solution for racism. And what is the solution for racism? It's very simple. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure it out. It doesn't take a sociologist or a psychiatrist. It's very simple. To end racism, the people need to be Muslim or they need to be under the influence of Islam. Islam is the only proven system in which there had been equality. The only system in which equality amongst human beings of different races have been realized. It is the only medicine that works. They say racism is a mental disease. Well, when people catch diseases, they need treatment, they need medicine. Islam is the only medicine that's ever worked. So Islam is the solution. So why are we here? Are we here in America to have a big house, to make money, get an education? I'm saying that if that's the only reason you're here, you should go home. I've heard scholars say that the only reason you should be in America, if you're not here for dawah, you shouldn't even be here. America is darul dawah. This is the abode of dawah. And if you're here for any other reason, then you shouldn't be here. Because if you're not here to practice, and in fact, they talking about vetting people that come in from other countries. They should let some of us do the vetting. Because we would vet you in this manner. If you didn't come here to practice Islam, you can't come here. Not if you come here to practice Islam. Not if you're a terrorist. No, if you don't come to America to practice Islam, go back to where you came from. So, my point is that the solution to these racial problems is very simple. Very simple. And we all know the solution. And we all know all the hadiths. We know all the things that the Quran says about racism, and we quote them all the time. We say there is no difference between a black man and a white man. We quote Prophet Rasulullah alayhi salam. We quote his last sermon. And we all say that we follow the Sunnah. This is easy to say. I mean, we follow the Sunnah. We make wudu properly. We pray according to the way Rasulullah alayhi salam prayed. And if we don't, we try our best to do all these things. We fast during Ramadan. We observe all the rituals of fast, the rituals of Hajj. We follow all this Sunnah. But when it comes to the Sunnah of how to deal with other human beings, we ourselves are negligent. We as Muslims have the solution to the problem, and we're not using it sometimes ourselves. Now I want to tell you a little story. Something that happened to me. I was living in another state. And I moved to this town, and I became active in the masjid immediately. And I was invited everywhere. Oh, brother, come to my home. Oh, brother, you want to do the khutbah? Oh, brother, come to my house tomorrow. Come have dinner with us. After a while, I began to notice that there were people who had been living there for years, for a decade, and they were never invited to these places. So I soon understood that the reason why I was invited was because I'm light. The West African brothers were never invited to dinner at these homes. And they saw me as a light-skinned person. And sometimes when they would invite me out, they would say things around me because they would forget who I really am. They forgot that I was an African American. What I'm trying to tell you is that the same problems that the society have, we have. And we have the medicine for them, but we have to use that medicine on ourselves. Among the Muslims, there should never be anybody claiming about they went to a masjid and received racist treatment. But we do hear this. We can look on Facebook and YouTube and hear people giving speeches about how a black person went to a masjid and how they were treated. I even heard a brother say he was in a part of South Africa, and people in South Africa say, "Why? What are you brothers doing, imams in America? You're only supposed to be the muezzin." The sunnah is that the black person is the muezzin, like Bilal, and the imam is somebody else that's not black. This is not the Islam that was established by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, we can change America if we change ourselves, if we follow the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when you study the sunnah, don't just study all the rituals, study the seerah and see how Rasulullah alayhi salam dealt with people. He didn't have a racist bone in his body. He was not a racist. He was not an Arab nationalist. He was a Muslim. He followed what Allah gave him. He was a good man before Islam. And he never had racial pride against anybody. Read the seerah and see how he dealt with people like Julaybib. Read the seerah and find out how he dealt with people like Bilal ibn Rabah alayhi salam. Read about the companions among him, because Bilal is not the only one. Read about the black companions among him that you would never even know they were black, because they didn't have problems like Abu Dar had with Bilal. Read about men like Ubaydah as-Samit. Ubaydah as-Samit was the general that led the Muslims into conquer parts of Egypt and Alexandria. And when Ubaydah as-Samit went to take the surrender plan, the surrender agreement between the Muslims and the Christian Byzantine rulers of Egypt, the Christian ruler says, "I can't talk to that black man. In fact, he frightens me." And what did the Muslims say? They said, "This man is the most able man among us. He was commissioned by Amr al-As himself. And we don't have a problem with skin color. This is what the Muslims said. This was them. And many of us are like this now, but those that are not like that, we have to check them. Whenever we see racial prejudice among us, we have to all come. If we had that incident among racism out in that lobby, every Muslim in here should come out there and check it. When we do this, then we can be the example for the society, because we have the medicine. We have Rasulullah, we have the Quran, and we have the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we practice true brotherhood among ourselves, what is true brotherhood? True brotherhood was demonstrated by the Sahaba. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, Mus'ab ibn Umayyah's brother, was captured during the Battle of Badr. And you know, after the Battle of Badr, they took all the prisoners and they ransomed them back to the Quraysh. When they were tying up Mus'ab ibn Umayyah's brother, he said, tie him up tight, because his mother's rich. His brother said, are you going to talk like that about your own brother? Mus'ab said, you're not my brother. The man that's tying you up, that's my brother. What am I saying? What I'm saying is, it's not our family that unites us. It's not our tribe that unites us. It's not our color that unites us as Muslims. The only thing that unites us is Islam. Everything that united us before that, that's the past. I'm not your brother because I'm African American. I'm your brother because you're Muslim. I'm not your brother because you're my blood brother from my own mother. I'm your brother if you're Muslim, and if you're Muslim, you're more my brother than my blood brothers. That's the reality of the situation. Now, my brother is sitting in the audience, and I'm telling him that while I'm telling you that. He's not Muslim. So now if he didn't know, he knows now. That those who say La ilaha illallah are my brothers over and above, exclusively. And Rasulullah said we should love him more than we love our mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers. And Islam comes before all that. Isn't that the case, brothers? Yes, it is the case. But let me tell you something. A lot of us have too much baggage. You know what baggage is? You're carrying stuff that you need to let go, that you don't need anymore. You're holding on to old stuff. There are Muslims that live in some parts of the world where they were under the influence of Hinduism. And under the Hindu system, they had a caste system, where the black people, the untouchables, were on the bottom. The original rulers and owners of India, the black people. And then the Aryans came in from the north, conquered them. And then to be light and Brahman was the best person. And then the people of India became Muslim. And some of them can't let the influence of Hinduism go. They can't let the influence go. They come into Islam with that influence. I was at a wedding one day, to show you what I'm talking about. I was at a wedding in another state. The groom was a Caucasian American. The wife was from India. And I'm sitting next to a brother, and I said something to him. I said, you know, I'm going to call him Abdullah, because some of you may track him down and say, Sultan said something about you. No, I'm not. I said, Abdullah, if the groom was black, then they would have had to go to the justice of the peace, and go about their business. He said, you're right. That would not have been acceptable. Now think about that. He said, you're right. That would not have been acceptable. But it's acceptable for somebody else. You see, I'm glad that we're now using the proper language. We were all talking about racism. And I used to tell the brothers, I said, no, brother, it's not racism. It's white supremacy. It's white supremacy. Now everybody using the term white supremacy. That's good, because that's what it is. I've heard Arabs say that other Arabs were racist against them. I heard Palestinians say that the Saudis are racist. That's not racism, that's bigotry. To me, you're all the same people. You look just alike. You're the same color. You got the same hair. You sound the same way to me. What do you mean racism? No, racism is when that you feel that one particular race is better than another race. And according to the anthropologists, you have the black race, the white race, and the Asian race. You got three major races that they say it have. We know we're the only one race, the human race. But the planet has been divided into different races by humans. This is the work of Shaitan. How do we know these things exist among us as Muslims? I was talking to some brothers from, I'm not going to tell you where they were from, and we were talking about skin lightener. In India, Pakistan, West Africa, women take powder or some cream put on their face and to turn their skin white. I was in a brother's home in another state, and everybody there spoke Urdu but me. Now, I don't understand Urdu, but I'm not stupid either. And I'm watching a commercial. In the commercial, a pretty brown-skinned woman is standing in there looking very sad. Looking sad. And then she's handed some cream. She rubs the cream on her face. In the next scene, she's lighter and happy, and everybody's congratulating her. This goes on all over the world. This is white supremacy. This is white supremacy. And I scream and I yell. I said, that's a bleaching cream commercial. Because I realized what it was, although I don't speak Urdu. And everybody was quiet. And then I was talking about it later, and one of the brothers said, yeah, I know, my mother used that stuff. His mother was as pale as this paper. So, when you live in a world where one color is better than any other color, then we have a problem. I've seen jet black Africans, the most beautiful Africans to me. They have skin that's as black as this stove. There's no blemish in it. It looks like velvet. You almost want to touch it. It looks like velvet. You mean to tell me that that's not beautiful? And I've seen white people that look like baboons. Pale, baboonish looking people. Fiery red, orange hair. You mean to tell me that's beautiful? I mean, look, there's beauty in all races. When you can't see beauty in all people, then you have a problem. And alhamdulillah that I can. I saw a brother in here one day from West Africa, jet black, dignified, had on nice West African outfit. And I said, that's a perfect human specimen. I took pictures of him and made him my friend. I said, brother, you're a perfect human specimen. It wasn't because he's black. It was black. But I've also seen beautiful people amongst white people. We as Muslims have to be able to see the good in everybody. And another thing. Now, I know you said here through two khutbahs and you heard about the oppression of black people. I'm talking about the solution right now, and I'm talking about our problem. Now, this is Dar al-Dawah, the abode of Dawah, and we're all here. We are, some of us, and some of you that sit right here on this floor every Friday, are working against the spread of Islam in America. You want to help these people who are getting murdered out there by the policemen? This is a religion of liberation. You want to help the downtrodden in America that's being victimized and murdered? Then give them Islam. But some of us can't give them Islam because we're too busy giving them haram. We work in their neighborhoods and we sell wine, cigarettes. I went in one store when I was doing dawah outside of a store in Southeast Raleigh. I had a table set up talking to the people and giving them pamphlets. I went in the stores run by a Muslim. The first thing I saw on the counter was a fatback. Do you know what fatback is? If you don't know what fatback is, then you may call it something else. It's the back of the hog, where you cut it up and slice it, and poor, ignorant people in America, they use this stuff for breakfast. It's nothing but fat. That's what they were selling, and the wine, and the beer, taking advantage of the people's ignorance. Now, I can take you to Southeast Raleigh, and you'll see almost every store in Southeast Raleigh is like that, run by Muslims, Arabic-speaking Muslims, taking advantage of the ignorance of the people. So don't tell me you for Black Lives Matter and you go to their neighborhood and sell them haram. You contribute to their ignorance. You contribute to drunkenness and violence. We've been given Islam, so a lot is expected from us. We have to step up to the plate as Muslims. And if what I say offends any of you, then that's okay too. I've been wanting to say some of these things a long time. I've said them to individuals, but I want to say it to a larger group. We are working against the spread of Islam. My people, the African American people, we were Christian. We were used and abused by this system in America. We were enslaved by them. We were given a religion that gave us the image of our slave master as our God. And this still exists in almost every black church in America. They go in, you see these brown and black people worshiping the image of a white Jesus as their God. This is a crime against humanity. And we heard about Islam. We heard the call to Islam. And we were told that in Islam there's no racism, that we're all brothers. Even men that taught wrong Islam, like Elijah Muhammad, even him said, when you learn Arabic, when you meet your brothers from the East, you will really become a real Muslim. He was telling us, I followed this ignorance, and I graduated from that a long time ago, just like Malcolm and a whole lot of other people sitting here that's African American. We graduated from that un-Islamic stuff. But even he told us that. Our brothers in the East. And we come into Islam thinking that, believing this, there's no racism. The brother from Morocco, he's my brother. The brother from Algeria, he's my brother. The brother from Malaysia, he's my brother. They're all my brother. We're brothers now, stronger than family bonds. And we know what happens. We know what happens. So if you're a Muslim and you hold racist views towards another race, especially other Muslims, then you're sinning. It's actually a form of shirk. You're questioning Allah, because Allah says one thing and you're saying something different. He said he created men on a beautiful pattern, and you're saying, no, these people aren't on the pattern, but I am. And then we hear about things like Arab nationalism, people, the Ba'ath Party, founded by a Christian. And what was his stance? He said there was no revelation and no prophethood. He says Muhammad staged a play to gain a kingdom. Said the Islamic civilization was brought about by the genius of the Arabs. This is the things that we have to all fight, and you have to fight them too. You have to fight them amongst your own people. And we pointing at America and pointing at England and France. We have to bring the finger back to ourselves. Are we truly brothers the way we should be? Are we truly brothers like that? Are you truly my brother above my brother from my mother? Are you truly that? In my conclusion, Islam is a religion that comes to give power to the underdog. The people, the first followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were not all the rich Quraysh. They were mostly slaves and poor people. But Islam rose them up, gave them dignity, and made them leaders amongst the Muslim and leaders of humanity. When Abu Sufyan was in Shams and he went before the king asked him some questions. He said, one of the questions was, who is this man's followers? Who is Muhammad's followers? Are they the noblemen or are they the poor? Abu Sufyan said, mostly the poor. Mostly the poor, but we this day and time, we seek the approval of the rulers and the establishment. We run away from the poor. There was a sister. Her name was Ummatul Mihjan. And she used to say, the day of the scarf. A lot of you heard this story. She said, the day of the scarf. The day of the scarf. The day of the scarf was one of the wonders of Allah that saved me from the shores of disbelief. Now Aisha radiallahu anha, she's listening to this woman talking. And she said, what are you talking about? Is this some poetry from your country? Because this woman was a black woman. She was a slave from Habasha. She said, no, this is my life story. She said, from Habasha. I was a slave of a Bedouin tribe. And I would travel with them through the desert and serve them. And my master's daughter had a beautiful red scarf. And she went to sleep and laid it down one day. And a bird picked up the scarf and flew away. And when she woke up, she looked for her scarf. Make a long story short, they thought she had stolen it or hidden it. They searched every part of her body and beat her. And in between all this, the bird came back and dropped the scarf between them. She said, I told you what happened. You didn't believe me. And they felt so ashamed. They felt so ashamed that they freed her. Now she's in the desert with nowhere to go. It's one thing to be a slave and it's one thing to be free with nothing. That's the way slavery entered in America. The slave was freed and had nothing. They wandered, some of them wandered up and down the creek. My personal family were freed slaves from Georgia, on the coast of Georgia. The master treated them pretty decent, and they thought they were going to stay, but they left and they went and slept on the bank of a river. My great-grandfather walked from Georgia all the way to Raleigh just to go to school over here at St. Augustine's College. But let's get back to the story. That was nothing for them. They walked. So she said, now I'm free and I have nowhere to go. But then I thought, oh, I heard about Muhammad in Medina, and most of his followers are people like me. She said, so I made my way to Medina and accepted Islam. And Rasulullah alayhi salam, she said, he built me a house, an apartment inside the masjid. He realized my condition. He built me an apartment in the masjid. This is the lady that used to clean the masjid of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is where she came from. We all know there was some black woman that cleaned the property, but this is her story. But she was received. She went there. Why did she go? She said, because there are people there like me, the poor, the disadvantaged. And Islam, and I heard that this man Muhammad and his followers were people like me. Let me make my way to the Muslim. We turn our back on these people. We turn our back on these people. With our degrees, with our doctorates, with our good jobs, with our living in the suburbs where away from people like this. You want to help, you want to talk Black Lives Matter? Do dawah in America. Give dawah. Instead of selling wine and swine in your store, get rid of it. I was in a place in New Orleans, Louisiana. And that was the happiest shopkeeper I have ever seen. He said, Ya Akhi, I never sold haram. And Allah blessed me. I've sent my mother on Hajj 4 times, and I never saw haram. He was happy. He was proud of himself. Let me tell you something, brother, if you're sitting here before me right now. Allah judges us by our last deed. And we all want to die saying, La ilaha illallah. And if you're doing this, what I'm talking about, you should be very afraid. You don't want your last deed to be selling somebody a case or a bottle of wine. Because after you sell that bottle of wine, the next guy coming in could be the stick-up man. And he shoots and kills you. How many Muslim brothers have been murdered like this? Many of them. Some of you know people personally that have been murdered like that. Was their last deed selling a bottle of beer or a bottle of wine or selling pork? And they got to go before Allah like that? This is scary. This is scary. So, okay, all this marching and singing won't change anything in America, brothers. Marching and singing won't change anything. When I was 16 years old, I was marching. I didn't do a lot of singing, but I was marching. They could never get me to sing. I'd go to things when I was a Christian, they said, stand around, let's sing this. It was hard for me to sing Happy Birthday. It was silly to me. I wasn't a singer. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, when I was 16 years old, we were doing the same thing they're doing now, marching, demonstrating, even looting. In Raleigh, in D.C., in L.A., in New York, all over America, the same identical thing they're doing now we did then. I'm 72 years old. That was around 60 years ago at least. Same thing. The only thing that will make a change in America for the better is Islam. Islam. Either the people become Muslim or they come under the influence of Islam. Nothing else will change America. And if you're looking for it in anything else, then you will be humiliated and disgraced. I pray Allah that I've not offended anyone. I pray Allah that what I've said has benefited somebody. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربي اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. Oh Allah, we seek that refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek that refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek that refuge from cowardice and selfishness. And we seek that refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep us away from what is prohibited. And with thy grace, make us free from what is besides thee. Ameen wa ameen wa ameen.